You are watching Maximus Aviation.
Okay, so I waited an entire day to gather more facts about this story, and a day in YouTube time is like a year at a normal job, but I wanted to make sure I got all the facts right. But yes, the internet is on fire with conspiracy theories that, of course, Boeing's Goon Squad carried out their orders and snuffed out another whistleblower. Or this could just be really bad timing for Boeing again, and they are just cursed and can't seem to catch a break. But right now, if you ask me if Boeing did this, I'd probably say no. But at the same time, if you ask if I believe the JFK magic bullet story, I'll also say no. So take that for what it's worth. So I'm going to lay out the facts I have so far and leave the speculation and conspiracy theories to others. The Seattle Times was the first to report Joshua Dean, a former quality auditor at the Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems, and the first whistleblower to allege Spirit bosses had ignored manufacturing defects on the 737 MAX, died the morning of Tuesday, April 30, after he reportedly suffered a stroke, followed by a 2-week battle with a sudden and fast-spreading infection. Dean lived in Wichita, Kansas, where Spirit is based. According to the Times, he was 45 years old, and it's been said that he had been in good health and was noted for a healthy lifestyle. On Facebook, Dean's aunt Carol Parsons said Josh died after spending the last 2 weeks in critical condition. According to her Facebook post, Dean's aunt said he suddenly became ill in what doctors are calling a stroke, but didn't specify if the stroke might have happened before or after he entered the hospital. Josh went to the hospital because he was having trouble breathing just over 2 weeks ago. However, because he couldn't breathe, he was intubated, but then developed pneumonia, and then that was followed by a serious bacterial infection called MRSA. Josh then also tested positive for influenza B. With one system failing after another, his condition deteriorated rapidly, at which time he was airlifted from Wichita to a hospital in Oklahoma City. Once there, he was put on an ECMO machine, which circulates and oxygenates a patient's blood outside the body, taking over heart and lung function when a patient's organs don't work on their own. Dean's aunt posted a message last Friday on Facebook saying that Dean was fighting for his life and that he was heavily sedated and put on dialysis. A CT scan indicated that he had suffered a stroke. She added that his blood circulation was so severely affected that by the end, doctors were considering removing both his hands and feet. It was brutal, she said, what he went through. She said it was simply heartbreaking. As recently as Monday, Dean was conscious and communicating with doctors, his aunt said. At the time, a doctor told him that he had a 50-50 chance of living. Then his aunt, or possibly his mother, I'm not exactly sure who wrote it, said that Josh is very depressed and frightened. He's doing a lot of sleeping and not responding as much as he was a few days ago, and has not been on any sedation or pain meds. In his final days, Dean was breathing only with the ECMO machine, and the doctor asked him if he wanted the machine turned off, but he wouldn't respond. But his mother told the doctor he doesn't know what he wants. I'm sure he wants to live. And to add to this poor mother's miserable 2024, Josh Dean's brother Justin died this past January at the age of 26. Dean was represented by a law firm in South Carolina who also represented Boeing whistleblower John Mitch Barnett, who back in March, according to the medical examiner's final report, died at his own hand. But still, almost 2 months later, the police investigation into his death is ongoing. Brian Knowles, one of Dean's lawyers, said he didn't want to speculate about the close timing and circumstances of the two deaths. Well, this is just a sad story all the way around. And sadly, as a father myself who lost his oldest son at a much younger age than Josh, there are no answers to grieving. No words that can or will help. But honestly, my thoughts and yes, prayers are with that family for sure. It's a thing you never really get over, yet the world keeps spinning and you have to find a way to live your life. A different version of your life now, but you find a way. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, and I had to do some medical research. So if you're a real doctor or healthcare professional and not a YouTube clown like me, if I misspeak, please let me know in the comment section. But here are the facts that we know so far, but they can rapidly change by the time this video even gets posted. So about 2 weeks ago, Josh had trouble breathing and went to the hospital. Soon after he entered the hospital, it was then that Josh developed MRSA, which according to the Mayo Clinic is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Wow, that's a mouthful. So you can see why they just call it MRSA. But as we read earlier, when he wasn't able to breathe, he was intubated and then developed pneumonia and then the bacterial infection MRSA. So again, referring to the Mayo Clinic, MRSA infections occur in people who've been in hospitals or other healthcare settings, such as nursing homes and dialysis centers. When it occurs in these settings, it's known as healthcare-associated MRSA, or HA-MRSA. Again, according to the Mayo Clinic, these infections usually are associated with invasive procedures or devices, such as surgeries, intravenous tubing, or artificial joints. So Josh could have developed this infection as a result of the initial intubation, which again, medical people let me know, but since all the information we have is from his aunt's Facebook post, it's possible he may have had the more invasive tracheostomy. Apparently the two are often confused, doctors say. Intubation is the process of inserting a tube through the mouth and then into the airways so a patient can be placed on a ventilator to help them breathe. However, if he actually had the more invasive tracheostomy, that's when the doctor creates an opening in the patient's neck or throat to place a tube into the patient's windpipe. This allows air to enter the lungs. So either one of those methods could have led to the MRSA infection. However, the Mayo Clinic says that HA-MRSA can also be spread by healthcare workers touching people with unclean hands or people touching unclean surfaces. So this poor guy had a stroke or a clot in his lungs, or God only knows what initially caused him not to be able to breathe. And yes, you can also suppose that Boeing's black hats took him out if you wish. But as for me, I'm not quite there yet, but you know what they say, if it walks like a duck. Anyway, he was just having a really bad day. So then all hell breaks loose as a result of this infection, and Josh is put through more invasive procedures which too could have introduced the MRSA infection. He was also placed on dialysis to help his failing kidneys function. Additionally, he was put on an ECMO machine, and that stands for extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, or ECMO for short. Holy crap, medicine has a lot of hard words. That's why I speak into a microphone in my boxer shorts in my bedroom for a living and don't perform brain surgery. And yes, thank God for that. I agree with you. However, according to Yale Medicine, unlike a heart-lung bypass machine, which is designed for short-term use during heart surgeries, for instance, ECMO machines provide long-term heart and lung support for hours, days, or even weeks to give patients' hearts and lungs time to heal and regain function. However, in most cases, ECMO therapy is used only when all other conventional treatments have failed to resolve the underlying heart or lung disorders. Okay, so to sum up the medical portion, Josh got sick, went to the hospital, and got much sicker while he was there, due to nature, the hospital, or Boeing. Or yes, I hear you, the Boeing Goon Squad got him. And I know you hate to hear this, but it's just too soon to know for sure right now, but we will find out. Right? We will, right? Yeah, I know, the whole magic bullet theory. For those that may not be familiar with Josh Dean, he was a mechanical engineer who began working at Spirit in 2019. He was laid off the next year following pandemic-related job cuts and returned to Spirit in May 2021 as a quality auditor. But in October 2022, Dean said he found a serious manufacturing defect. Mechanics were improperly drilling holes in the aft pressure bulkhead of the MAX. When he flagged this issue with management, he said nothing was done. Focused on those defects, he said he missed during that same audit a separate manufacturing flaw in the fittings that attached the vertical tail fin to the fuselage. When that was discovered in April and caused a delivery pause at Boeing's Renton plant, Dean was fired. Then in August, Spirit suddenly announced, guess what? Yep, the discovery of improperly drilled holes in the MAX's aft pressure bulkhead, a flaw that was present in MAX's built as early as 2019. So according to the Seattle Times, with that discovery, Dean filed a safety complaint with the FAA. He said Spirit had used him as a scapegoat and had lied to the FAA about the aft pressure bulkhead defects. Dean said after I was fired, Spirit Aerosystems initially did nothing to inform the FAA and the public about their knowledge of the aft pressure bulkhead defects. In November, the FAA sent Dean a letter stating that it had completed an investigation of the safety issues he had flagged. The letter didn't reveal the outcome, though it seems to confirm that his allegations had substance. The investigation determined that your allegations were appropriately addressed under an FAA-approved safety program, the FAA wrote. However, due to the privacy provisions of these programs, specific details cannot be released. Of course. That same month, Dean filed his aviation whistleblower complaint with the Department of Labor alleging wrongful termination and gross misconduct of senior-level Spirit Aerosystems quality managers. That case, too, was still pending. So like I said, when Mitch Barnett died, two things can be true at the same time. Boeing didn't actually kill these men, and yet it was Boeing that killed these men. Either way, it's sad all the way around. But to keep this as short as possible, I'll shut up now. But I need your help in the comment section. So let me know, was Josh simply playing the game of life with the cards he was dealt? Or did Boeing stack the deck? Let me know down below. And stay tuned for updates. Until next time, if you love somebody, give them a hug and let them know today. Because, well, you know. And I'll see you again real soon. Yeah, this is Maximus.